show has a tear in his eye almost, because this is a very nice moment, Ian, Peter, isn't it? Look at this that's coming over the pier.
Yes, absolutely. So look to your left, over the pier, Sally B, the B-17 Flying Fortress. So Len, the Lancaster tail gunner, may be missing the Lancaster this afternoon, but hopefully the American Air Force's equivalent 4-engine heavy bomber will bring a nostalgic tear to your eye, sir.
Well, I think Clacton, we heard a little bit of a clap there, but can we have a bigger round of applause, please, for Sally B? Come on, Clacton, welcome this beautiful aircraft to day 2 of our air show.
And Sally B celebrated 40 years of flying in the UK last year. She made her debut at the Biggin Hill Air Show in 1975. And although she is based at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford, she is not, and she is the flagship of the American museum there. She is not operated by Duxford. She's operated by the B-17 Charitable Trust. So she depends on the support of the more than 6,500 members of the Sally B Supporters Club, whose sole aim is to ensure that this flying icon remains flying as a tribute to the 79,000 Allied airmen who lost their lives during the Second World War. The motto of the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight is "Lest we forget," and that is aimed at all those who gave their lives in the service of the Royal Air Force. Sally B has perhaps a wider mission, and that's to commemorate all the Allied airmen who died in the Second World War.
So graceful as she turns right in front of our commentary point with one wing down, Peter. So we see the 4 engines this time, a bigger beast than what we just saw.
Yes, a bigger beast than the B-25, and more heavily armoured as well. So the classic 4-engined bomber operated by the US Army Air Force in the Second World War, operating from many bases in Essex and East Anglia as a whole. The aircraft is powered by 4 Wright Cyclone radial engines, each producing 1,200 horsepower at 15,000 feet, which gives the aircraft a top speed of 287 miles an hour, but a normal cruising speed of 150 miles an hour. Interestingly enough, although a similar size to the Lancaster, it had a much lighter bomb load with a capacity of 6,000 pounds compared to the 22,000 pound bomb load of the specially modified Lancasters that were used to carry the Grand Slam and the Tall Boy bombs. Now that's a great picture, isn't it? B-17 over Clacton Pier.
An amazing picture if you're on the pier, and the beast swooping over the edge of the pier. Look at that, very low now, camera's ready.
Now this is a great photo opportunity as Peter Kuipers, the captain, gives us a topside pass. Now she was known as the Flying Fortress because she was armed with 13 machine guns, and the idea was that the US Army Air Force, flying their fortresses, would conduct bombing operations against the German allies during the day, while the Royal Air Force would conduct operations at night. So the Flying Fortress, more heavily armed than the Lancaster, and the Flying Fortresses used to fly in a barrel formation. So imagine you're looking down a barrel lying on its side, and they were scattered all around the outside of the barrel. The idea being that gave them sufficient crossfire to be able to handle any fighters that were sent up to intercept them. Unfortunately, that didn't work, and losses amongst the US Air Force bomber crews were very heavy until the introduction of longer range fighters like the P-47 Thunderbolt, and then eventually the P-51 Mustang, which with its drop tanks could escort the bombers all the way to their targets over Berlin and even further and all the way back. Even so, that still wasn't the ultimate solution, because what would happen was the German fighters would intercept the P-51s as soon as they crossed over the channel, forcing them to jettison their drop tanks to engage in a dogfight, and therefore that restricted their range. But one of the reasons the B-17 was so beloved of its crews was that they were famous for being able to return and bring their crews back safely, even after suffering extensive battle damage. You may have seen the great film Memphis Belle, which this aircraft featured in, which was all about a bombing mission in a B-17. And the losses amongst Allied air crews for the US Air Force diminished when the P-51 escorts arrived on the scene, and also with the introduction of a 25 mission limit as a tour of duty.
Yes, she's certainly a famous old girl, isn't she? She's been in so many TV films. She's been on the big screen, the little screen, and Memphis Belle, as you say, a film I loved seeing, and now to think we're seeing the star of the film here in Clacton for the air show.
Yes, yes, indeed.
A celebrity in her own right.
And it's surprising just how cramped it is inside the fuselage. You know, you see in the Memphis Belle, the two waist gunners almost have to stretch out to reach each other. That's not the case in reality. That may have been how it was filmed in the studio.
And this is the last chance to see her. This is the final fly past of the Sally B. So this is the last opportunity to get your cameras ready as we give a massive Clacton wave to the Sally B Flying Fortress.
And there she is, streaming smoke from her port engine, simulating a returning bomber from a raid on Germany, shot up but still bringing her crew home successfully. And the close side of you may have noticed that the inner starboard engine has a black and yellow checkerboard design on the nose. That is because the reason Sally B is here is that a 1970s businessman, Ted White, brought her to the UK and set up the B-17 Preservation Society. His name was Ted White. He was tragically killed a few years later flying his Harvard in the having been out in Malta to participate in the Malta rally. And that Harvard had that black and yellow checker nose design. So Ted is forever flying in close formation with his beloved Sally B. But as you look to the left, you can see Sally B leaving, while in from the left we can see Otto, flown by Brendan O'Brien.
That's an unusual sight. You don't often see two aircraft like that flying past each other. If you were here last night in Clacton for the evening display, this was our finale. Otto the helicopter doing all kinds of crazy things and firing off flares and fireworks. It was a superb display. Today, I'm looking forward to getting to see Otto in the daylight, because I think Otto in his own right is pretty stunning. He looks like he's quite nimble, Peter.
Yes, indeed. He is a Schweitzer 300C, the helicopter that first flew back in 1961, and many people say it is perhaps the most successful light helicopter. It's used for training helicopter pilots, also used in agriculture as a crop spraying aircraft, and also as a personal transport, because it's got a nice big bubble canopy that gives you very good visibility, and it can actually accommodate 3 people.
Oh, that'd be nice. Get me home quick from work.
Certainly beat the traffic jams, yes indeed. So the 300C is an uprated version of the earlier models. It has a maximum speed of 109 miles an hour. Now Brendan has brought the aircraft to a stop. You can see generating loads of smoke. Fireworks aren't appropriate for the day, but there he is flying backwards. You won't see any other aircraft flying backwards during the display.
How can he do that?
Well, what Brendan describes this display as chopper-batics. So it's aerobatics in a chopper, in a helicopter. Now, as you said earlier, Ian, Otto is a new arrival on the UK airshow scene, having successfully displayed for many years in the US and also in Australia. And Brendan saw it and decided to bring the acts and the aircraft over to the UK. And with his pyrotechnics last night, if you were not here last night, you really missed it. And if it's repeated at next year's air show, you must come down for the night pyrotechnics. They were superb, weren't they?
Stunning, and check out BBC Essex Twitter and Facebook for some videos of last night, just to give you a taster. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. I'm looking forward to seeing what Brendan does for the next few minutes. And he's really sort of swinging that helicopter left to right, left to right. It must be fairly uncomfortable in there for him, I'd have thought.